So now that you understand why good exercises go bad and how to prevent it, let's get into all the ways there are of improving your technique more and more over time so that you can master it. The first thing you always need to do is be in control of your body, okay? And make sure that the bar is following the correct path for every repetition, which should be standardized with proper form, and that you are only moving what joints and muscles you are supposed to be moving and isolating them if you are supposed to be isolating them. Don't be letting any other muscles get recruited. Next, one of the first things you should be doing if you feel like an exercise isn't giving you the same type of stimulus and growth that it used to is increase your time under tension in that exercise, especially if you are only getting 45 seconds or less. Try to make your sets longer one way or another so you can get the most time under tension possible, because that is going to be one of the big keys to muscle growth. Next, make sure you are using the fullest range of motion possible. All right, and look at if there's any way that you could be moving more in this exercise. Could you possibly be getting a deeper stretch without hurting yourself? Could you perhaps be following a greater arc so that you are doing a little bit more movement? These are the things to look at next. The next thing you could do in order to make your workout more metabolic and intense would be to decrease or remove entirely your rest times between reps and sets. So avoiding the lockout at the bottom of your exercise, as I've talked about before, and reducing the rest period between your sets or doing alternating sets will give you a much better pump and metabolic workout. That's something that I've been improving recently myself, and it is highly effective. The next thing you can do, which will help you to achieve greater time under tension, would be to do your reps slower, especially on the eccentric. You can still do your concentric fast if you want, but try slowing down the eccentric and really dragging that out. That's really helpful. Next would be to do isometrics at the top and bottom of your exercises. All right, make sure you're getting a good squeeze at the top, because again, studies have shown that that will double your growth for certain muscles, and get a good stretch under tension at the bottom, because that is especially hypertrophic. And what you can do at any times where you want to be doing fast reps in your sets and don't want to pause during the reps is you can wait and do a very long isometric at the end of your exercise. Okay, so on the very last rep, you can hold it and squeeze it at the top and hold that squeeze for as long as you can, like maybe 20 or 30 seconds, and then lower it for another 20 or 30 seconds, and then hold that stretch under tension at the end for another 20 to 30 seconds, and that will give you really hardcore hypertrophy. The next way of improving technique is, if you've gotten good at doing straight sets, start throwing in some supersets and drop sets. All right, that will give you a much better workout. And then another thing you can do that will actually change how your muscles are working during the movement and can even affect how you are targeting different parts of the muscle is changing your grip. After you have been doing an exercise with a certain grip for a certain period of time, it will eventually become too easy for you and you will need to change it up. And you'll probably be surprised at how much of a difference just one hand width can make when you change your grip just that much. It does have a significant effect on the mechanics of how your body is working and will feel totally different and provide much more stimulus than the grip you had gotten used to. So every so often, in some way or another, change up your grip. Whether it means going from supinated to pronated, from wide to medium, or medium to close, or if you're using cables, changing the grip attachment, whatever it may be, change up your grip every so often. Next, similarly, change your angle. Every so often, after you've gotten used to doing an exercise, you want to try targeting a different part of the muscle more by changing the angle that you are doing the exercise at. This is really easy to do if you're using cables or resistance bands or dumbbells. If you're using machines, it could mean sitting in the machine a different way or holding the grip a different way. If you're using barbells, it means changing the bar path, and again, the grip will probably help with this as well. But either way, you want to change the way you are moving so that you target different parts of the muscle more. Otherwise, you're not going to get full, well-rounded muscular development. And another technique that you can use whenever you are doing pushing or pulling would be to incorporate a twist. So if you're pushing, twist inward like that. If you're pulling, twist outward like that. And that will help to recruit more muscle fibers. Now next, getting even more advanced here, the next thing you can do to improve your technique and really optimize your form and the hypertrophy you get from it is optimizing any poor resistance curves that you might be using by changing the equipment you're using and the positioning and angle. So this is something you should understand how to do if you have seen all of my exercise classes in part 3. So what you want to do is, after you've gotten used to all of your basic movement patterns and are trying to find ways to make them harder, look at any exercises that have a poor resistance curve and are only giving you full resistance at one part of the movement and are giving you little to no resistance at the top or bottom, where your muscle should be getting a good stretch under tension or a good squeeze. Because any exercises with bad resistance curves that are limited in those factors are highly suboptimal and limited in the amount of hypertrophy they are causing you when compared to a similar exercise with an optimal resistance curve. So over time, what you want to be doing is switching out a lot of your dumbbell and barbell exercises that follow a curved path and switching them for cable or machine exercises where your muscle gets constant tension and a optimal resistance curve. Next is reducing limiting factors that are not the target muscles. Be paying attention to if there are any factors besides your target muscle that are limiting you from completing your sets or going as close to failure as you ought to be. And make sure you catch any of them and correct them wherever they may be. So if your grip is the limiting factor on certain pulling exercises, which is a common thing, you need to get yourself a pair of wrist straps so that your grip will no longer be the limiting factor. And anytime any other joints are your limiting factors, there's gear or physical therapy for that as well. So you need to use whatever type of gear or remedies and other measures that you have at your disposal to make sure that there are no other limiting factors besides the target muscles. And that when you fail an exercise, you fail because of your target muscles, not because of any other limiting factors. And then the last but not least way of improving your technique is using both high reps and heavy weight at times. If you've been using only certain rep ranges and loads for a certain period of time, then your body is going to be getting used to those, and that's what's going to be getting stale. All right, so you want to be using all of the different rep ranges at different times, and at certain times you should be lifting very light and doing very high reps, like 25 to 30. And at other times you should be lifting very heavy and doing as low as like 5 reps or so. Give your body more to adapt to, and it will make more adaptations. That is the key takeaway here. You have so many different aspects of training and training technique. Make sure you are manipulating all of your training variables in one way or another over time, and you will eventually master your techniques and see your full growth potential realized.